Yeah, I can see your screen as well and the videos as well. I have started the recording. So let's start with the webinar of Agile Learning Train series, episode 2.
Yeah, thanks. So we can get started. So I'm not sure how many of you are have been part of the previous two sessions. So if you are not, you can please see those recordings in my YouTube channel, which is Mahendra Hotte on the YouTube. So these are the two topics that we covered in the first two sessions. We covered the overview on what scaled agile framework is, and in the second episode, and someone who's not talking, can you go on mute, please? There's some background news. Okay. Uh, Anyone who's not talking, can you go on mute, please? I think it's Vikramjit. If you can go on mute, please. Yeah, thanks, Vikram. Okay, so the what we had covered was the first one was on the overview. We did the overview, and in the second episode, technically speaking, that was the first one. So we covered dual operating system, 7 core competencies of the business agility. And today, I intend to cover the safe core values, the Lean Agile Mindset, House of Lean, and Agile Manifesto at scale. And this is the series that I intend to cover every 3 weeks. So as I mentioned earlier, if you missed the first two, so feel free to look up on the YouTube channel of mine, and you can find find these two recordings out there. Okay, so let's get started. So as I mentioned, today I'll be covering the safe. Bit of a ground rules. So, in the interest of the flow, I would request if there's any questions, you can put it up in the chat, and or you can make a note of it, and we'll take all the questions towards the end. You can note down the slide number or the title of the slide where you have a particular question. Either I or Niladri will be able to clarify towards the end. Uh, so to maintain that flow.
Great.
Okay, so today we'll be covering safe core values and lean agile mindset. So this is part of the safe foundation. So this is just as a snapshot of the scaled agile framework. So there appears the core values and the lean agile mindset. That's what we'll be covering. So these are all part of the safe foundation. Now, what are the four core values that SAFE is based on? It's a built-in quality, uh, alignment, transparency, and program execution. I have just created a small acronym, BATP, which stands for built-in quality, alignment, transparency, and program execution. We'll see what each one of them are in the subsequent slides. Uh, I put this picture with an intent. Uh, this is something that I generally use in my discussions. Um, we don't build a wall and then test for quality. We don't try to break the wall and see whether the wall is having the right quality. We don't do that. Unfortunately, only in the software industry, we have got into that bad habit of testing for quality only towards the end, which is not the right thing. When we build a wall, we ensure that the right ingredients are in place, the right proportion of sand, cement, water, gravel, whatever it is in place, and its quality is built in. And as you can see, Deming, who's the quality guru, is stated very clearly. Inspection does not improve the quality nor guarantee quality. Inspection is too very late. The quality, good or bad, it's already baked in. Quality cannot be inspected into a product or a service. It must be built into it. So there's no two ways about it. So that is one of the core values of SAFe as to how do we build in quality. Let's see how do we go about doing it in SAFe. So in SAFe, the built-in quality practices ensures that the solution element or the entire solution or every increment meets the appropriate quality standards, and it is throughout the development. And it is at every increment. It's of the solution that we are building, and predominantly avoids the cost of delay. We all understand what is the cost of delay. The delay, the cost incurred because of recalls or rework or fixing defects. So having built-in quality avoids these costs. The SAFe's built-in quality philosophy is all about optimizing the whole. We have a systems thinking approach for this. So here in SAFe, it is quality is everyone's job. So it is just generally in the software industry, unfortunately, when we say quality, it is left to the testers towards the end. The moment the word quality comes up, we expect the testers to do all the quality check. No, here everyone is part of the quality, including software, hardware, operations, product marketing, everyone, legal, security, everyone is part. Quality is everyone's job. And quality, built-in quality is one of the dimension of the team and technical agility as well. So this is one of the concepts which is the core values as well as one of the dimension of team and technical agility. Of course, we covered it in the previous session, so I won't go into the details of it. Wherein in the team and technical agility core competency, we talk about pairing, collective code ownership, standards, automation, and having a definition of done. Now, how do we achieve, what are the dimensions of built-in quality? This is the 5 dimensions: flow, architecture and design quality, code quality, system quality, and release quality. We'll see uh, each of them one by one. So let us see the uh, flow flow first. What does it got to say? So to achieve the flow, so agile teams operate in a fast flow-based system. So agile teams believe in executing the tests early, often, and at multiple levels. So as you can see, so when I say multiple levels, the developers have a test-driven development approach, a TDD approach. You get a feedback over here, which is very quick. Then at the story level, you have a behavior-driven development that is applied, and at the feature level, you have the lean UX. So that's what it's being depicted in this picture. So so tests are defined code changes using TDD. The story and the feature and the capability are validated for the acceptance criteria using behavior driven development. And at the feature, we do a benefit hypothesis, feature benefit hypothesis using Lean UX. So I won't be covering in detail about Lean UX because that comes as part of the spanning palette, which is one of the topics that we'll cover in the subsequent sessions. That's how we achieve the flow. Tests are conducted at multiple levels, and there's a guarantee that the quality is ensured at multiple levels, and there's a fast and a flow-based system is established. Let's quickly look at test pyramid. So what is test pyramid? How do we, this is from the SAFe website, and these two I have picked up from other sources to depict what is test pyramid. Basically, what this concept is all about is the, I like this diagram, these two diagrams. That's why I wanted them over here. Generally, what happens is the developers are more focused on delivering the code, delivering the functionality, and we have got a tendency of not focusing on the unit tests. So as a result, we end up in having this ice cream cone pattern of a test pyramid. We do have testers in our team. So while most of the major chunk of the work is development, okay, what shall the tester do? Okay, the tester will say, you please automate. do end-to-end automation and uh, write test cases, uh, be it Selenium or Tosca or any of the UI-based testing tools. And unfortunately, we end up in this pattern. We have got very less of unit tests and a lot of end-to-end GUI, graphical user interface based tests, automate tests. Now, the problem with this is, so it's a double whammy. The UI tests take a long time to run, and we have got more of them, while the unit tests, which take very less time to run, we got less of them. So we end up in a double whammy situation. The same is depicted here. Uh, uh, the These numbers are contextual. What it is trying to say is 70% to 60 to 70% of your functionality should be covered at the lower level, be it unit tests, integration tests, and very little leftover should be at the UI tests. So this is the ideal test pyramid. And believe me, I can probably share you some articles towards the end. Uh, the Visual Studio, VSTS, went through the same thing. So uh, the general tendency is this is applicable only for greenfield projects. This is not applicable for my project. So all that is disproved. So VSTS went through the same process. So they've gradually moved and got their test pyramid right. So it is just that we need to have that intent and vision of setting this right. And afterwards, it becomes very easy. The next concept in achieving the flow is a continuous delivery pipeline, wherein um, the changes built into system are across multiple environments before it is get deployed into the production. So as you can see, you have dev tests and you've got QA tests and you've got a test environment, a staging environment. Then only you can get into production. And at, you can't replicate the actual components or the actual mm, uh, interfaces which are required because of the constraints. So what we end up doing. Carlos, if you can go on mute, please. I think you're unmuted. Thanks, Carlos. Okay, so we uh, we we have this concept of test doubles. So on other in generic technical terms, we call it as mocking as well. So for components that we can't have at all times, so we create stubs or we create mocks, and we ensure that uh, the interfaces are also tested. And how do we accelerate the feedback? So we have got so much of tests. So as the tests grow, the feedback delay, there's a delay in getting the feedback to the development teams. So we do take a cautious call in creating reduced test suits, and we create something known as a smoke test. Some people call it as risk-based testing, to ensure that the major functionality is covered and it moves through the pipeline. So uh, we have a concept of in safe, we have a concept of system team. Once again, it is covered as part of the spanning palette. We'll not get into the details over here. They are the people who actually integrate the entire system and test the system. And in collaboration with the agile teams, we come up with the bare minimum test that we can execute, uh, so that we don't have to, so that we ensure that the quality is also not compromised. Neither we are compromising on the speed and the time part of it. So this is what, so there's a balance between the speed and the quality. So this ensures flow. The next dimension of built-in quality is architecture and design quality. What are we saying over here? So as requirements evolve, the architecture also and the designs also must evolve. So in the traditional approach, wherein the design and the architecture was frozen, and which resulted in a lot of rework. So here in SAFE, we advocate that the design should evolve over a period of time, and the architecture also should evolve. So how do we go about doing it? So we have an architectural runway in place, so wherein we pick up the enablers and the team works on those enablers so that the architectural runway is also built. So, and we do uh, experiment. The best decisions required or the best decisions are arrived based on the knowledge that we gain through experimentation, modeling, and simulation and prototyping. So that's how we ensure that the future work is also taken care of by having the enablers in this particular program increment or this particular sprint. So that's through the architectural runway. Design for quality. So as I mentioned, having a low quality designs, it's very difficult to understand and modify. So this impacts the delivery. We get into a slower delivery and having more defects. Applying good coupling and cohesion and appropriate abstraction and encapsulation is also important. And yes, solid principles. So we all have heard of Uncle Bob, Robert Martin. So he was the one who uh, propagated or who came up with the solid principles. So it stands for singular responsibility, open interface, and Liskov principle, interface, and dependency. So it is pretty technical and in depth. So not getting into the solid principles. So having solid principles in place makes the systems flexible, so it makes it easier to change. So that is very important. And of course, having the design patterns in place it makes the code or the architecture or the design easy to understand and makes it readable. This is very important. We should our design should enable the ease of testing as well. So it depends on our architecture and design determines how testable my system is. So as I mentioned earlier, for systems that we can't have at all times, we have the concept of using mock, or we call it as test doubles. The next is on the code quality. So the next dimension on the built-in quality is about how do we achieve code quality. Um, it all depends on, so if I ask if people who are from the development background over here, if I ask how many of us would like to be part of a totally greenfield project or a project which has been running for um, X number of years, I'm sure most of us would raise our hands and say, I would like to be part of that greenfield project. I want to get into a project which has existing code. The reason is the it's very difficult to understand and reliably change an existing code. That is very important. So it's not that we'll always be getting into projects which are totally greenfields from scratch up.
మా నాన్న కూర్చోమన్నాను టీవీ చూస్తున్నాను.
Gopichand, if you can go on mute, please.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm sorry. I get distracted when I get. That's how I
I'm
am.
sorry, man. I'm extremely
Yeah,
sorry
no
for that.
issues. No issues. No issues.
Actually, I was muted, but I don't know where it got. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's perfectly fine. Perfectly.
Yeah.
The flow of thought gets disturbed. That's the only thing. Yeah. So how do we achieve code quality? So we apply unit testing and a test-driven approach. So it's all about breaking the code into smaller parts and ensuring that each part is covered by automated tests. So in fact, there's a beautiful quote by Michael Feathers. So where he says, what is legacy code? Any code which doesn't have automate tests is legacy code. And so it's very clear. So we should have automate tests and ensuring that our test pyramid is in place. So the test should run automatically for every change and and it should allow quick feedback to the developers. That gives us the confidence that the modification won't break any other part of the system. And more importantly, I strongly believe that or we had this beautiful metric when I was started my career, uh, code to comment ratio. I now I in hindsight it was one of the stupid metric to have. Why should I have so much of comments to explain the code that I myself have written, or the code should be readable? So how do we go about doing it? The tests that we have serve as a documentation because they are executable. So it should cater for the documentation also, and as well as my code should be. I should be able to read my code as if I'm reading any other email or any other text. So that makes it easier rather than having comments to explain my code. And uh, another way of achieving code quality is pairing. Um, uh, Unfortunately, this is one of the concepts that is misunderstood. I've seen teams wherein the team members say that we pair and work. What is a pair? So the other one is writing unit tests and I'm writing the code. That is not pairing. So you have outsourced writing unit tests to someone else. So it is just for convenience. No, that is not pairing. The actual pairing is there's only one monitor and one keyboard, and someone is a driver and the other person is a navigator. The navigator is looking out for coding errors and code review that I am coding on the fly, and he's ensuring that the entire functionality is covered while I am busy uh, uh, achieving the logic, writing the logic for that piece of code, and we switch. So by doing so, the necessity of having a specific process of code review itself is taken away, and automatic knowledge sharing happens, and the best practices are uh, 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 spread across the entire team. So this broadens the skill set on the team members. And once again, there's a different school of thought with respect to resource utilization. Rather than having one person do, there are two people sitting on it. So there are multiple studies that have been done where pairing has proved to be much beneficial in the long run. And the other concept on how do we achieve code quality is collective code ownership and coding standards. So this reduces dependencies upon the team members and ensures that any individual team or absence of an individual or an individual team member doesn't block the flow of the delivery. And any individual should be able to add functionality, fix errors, and improve design. Now, since the code is not owned by one person, how do we ensure that the standards are mentioned? Standards are maintained. So we have supporting coding standards, which once again tool based. The tool pops up all the anomalies. The rules are configured in the tools, and the tool ensures that the coding standards are maintained. This ensures consistency, so that everyone can understand and maintain the code at the same level. The next is on how do we achieve system quality. We are halfway mark, so we are at 10. So I'm just looking at the time check. So next is about the system quality. How do we achieve that? Um, there's a shared understanding between the developers and the business community. So this ensures that the delays and the rework is taken away. And we do have a concept of behavior driven development. People from the technical background probably can appreciate it. Uh, w- we do have frameworks like Cucumber and a Gherkin language. We write acceptance criteria and given when then format, which is once again converted to code and it is compiled. So that gives a collaborative understanding of what the acceptance criteria is all about between the product owner and the team members. This is all about how the system should behave. That's why it's known as a behavior driven development. And The other way of ensuring system quality is there's always a continuous integration and a continuous development, which is essential to get a faster feedback on the changes. So each change is quickly built in and integrated and tested at multiple levels. The CI/CD automates the process of moving the changes across the various stages. And we do have quality checks for the NFRs as well, the non-functional requirements. And while the CI/CD strives to automate all the tests, they do have some functional exploratory tests which can be performed manually. That is perfectly fine. But uh, having a lot of manual and very less of automated is a no-no. There will certainly be some functional or some manual tests, so that is still fine. Next is how do we achieve release quality? So how do we make the releases less risky, and how do we learn fast from the releases? So the concept is very simple. So the smaller the changes, the easier it is to push it into production, the easier it is to pull it out if something goes wrong. So the small as the change is the best thing. And there there's certainly some compliance thing that we'll have to support, uh, wherein there'll be some audits, compliance, and we'll have to demonstrate certain evidences for legal and compliance purpose. So here in SAFE, we do have concept of lean quality management system, wherein there are practices, approved practices and policies and procedures in place, which support the flow-based lean and agile ways of working. And how do we ensure release quality? So we do have a definition of done, which is uh, uh, skill. So there's a typo here. Definition of done has got typed twice. So it's a scalable definition of done. Uh, we can have the definition of done at multiple levels, at the team level, at the PI level, at the release level. So you can have depending upon the context, so you can have definition of done at multiple level. That's what we are advocating over here. The definition of done can be at the team train, the agile release train, the enterprise. They can have their own definition of done. The next uh, core value is alignment. We saw built-in quality. Now we are seeing what is alignment all about and how do we achieve alignment. Why do you require alignment? Alignment is needed to keep in pace with the fast change, disruptive, competitive force, and the geographical distributed teams. So, you, in a PI, it consists of anywhere between 10 to 15 agile teams, which is close to around 100 to 150 members. Just imagine a situation wherein each one of the teams have their own schedule of iteration. So it's not going to work. The integration and the system demo would not happen appropriately if each one of them have their own schedules. So there's alignment that's required. Yeah, that's what we are telling over here. So yes, agile teams are good and sometimes even great, uh, uh, but the responsibility of strategy and alignment cannot rest with the combined opinion of the team, no matter how good they are. So we need a structure to the. So we need some structure to the chaos out there. So alignment must rely on the enterprise business objectives. Well, we have strategy and investment divisions at the portfolio level. That is reflected in the strategic teams, portfolio vision, and portfolio backlog, and it flows into the vision roadmap and and finally to the backlogs of all at all levels. It could be the program backlog, it could be the teams backlog. So that's where the alignment is, right from the strategic themes to the portfolio backlog to the vision roadmap and ending up in the program and the team backlog. There's an alignment out there, and there's a clear lines of content authority. What we mean by this is who are responsible for the product management and the solution management. So we have got a clearly defined roles in safe, and of course the product owner role who's part of the team. So it is very clear, the clear definition or clear demarcation of the content authority. And as I mentioned earlier, PA objectives and the iteration goals are communicate the expectations and the commitments of the team, and they are also aligned. So the iteration goal and the PA objective, if they are out of sync, then the alignment is gone. So there's alignment out there as well. And as I mentioned earlier, the cadence and synchronization are applied with the reasonable economic and time boundaries. So what we are telling over here is how often can you integrate and how often can you give a system demo. So this trade-off that we'll have to do with the reasonable, the economical, considering the cost required for these activities. However, what we advocate over here is the integration should happen at the end of every sprint in the programming sprint in the PI, and a system demo as well. So that is where the alignment comes into picture. And finally, the architectures and the user experience guidance and governance ensure that the solution is technologically sound and robust and scalable. And we have the economic prioritization, which keeps the stakeholders engaged. So when we say economic prioritization, there's a technique known as WSJ, weighted shortest job first, which we utilize, which we use for prioritization. Once again, not getting into the details of WSJF since there's a separate webinar on that. So that keeps the stakeholders engaged and aligned with what the teams are delivering. The next core value is about transparency. Trust exists when the business and development can confidently rely on one another and act with integrity, particularly in times of difficulty. And yes, transparency is also one of the pillars of any Scrum team. So that is exactly what we are telling over here. Transparency is required. And without, so the basis of transparency is trust. Without trust, no one can build a high performance team, and nor can we build confidence to meet those commitments that the teams have. Building trust takes time, and transparency is an enabler of trust. So the moment uh, there's transparency, automatically the trust will be there. There will be mistrust or distrust only if there's no transparency. Once everything is transparent, there's trust. Now, how do we ensure transparency? Where all do we see transparency in scaled agile framework? Here, the executives, the LPM, lean portfolio management, and other stakeholders can have clear visibility on what is a portfolio Kanban, the program backlogs, and to the extent of the PA objectives of every agile release train or a solution train. So there's nothing that is hidden out there. Um, the agile release trains have visibility to the team backlogs as well as the program backlogs. So there's transparency again there. And the teams and the programs commit to the short term and visible commitments that they routinely meet. So there's, the teams are very clear. What is it that we can achieve? There's nothing hidden. The commitments are uh, highly transparent and visible. Inspect and adapt is it's an equivalent of Scrum retrospective, wherein with all the, but at a higher level. So we do have an inspect adapt event that happens in safe framework with all the relevant stakeholders, and we do create a backlog of improvements and based on the lessons learned. So that is one way of being transparent. We are transparent to our failures and we are transparent to our lessons learned, and we incorporate the same in our backlogs. And the agile release trains can see the portfolio business and the enabler replics. So they do have the visibility to all the new initiatives as well. And this is very important. The progress is based on measurable objectives, measurable milestones, which is based on working solutions. That's once again transparent. And the velocity and the work in progress of the teams and the programs are also visible to everyone. So that is also not hidden. And this is how we ensure that transparency is achieved in a scaled agile framework. Once again, agile leaders play a critical role in creating an environment that fosters trust and transparency. This is very important. The everything starts from the leader. So if the leader of an organization is not transparent enough, the same culture is percolated down to the last person. So the leaders play an important role in creating this environment of trust and transparency. Now, moving on to the next core value, it's a program execution. Um, uh, it's very important. Uh, None of this would work if we cannot execute and continuously deliver value. So therefore, strong emphasis is on working systems and business outcomes in SAFe. And the main objective of an agile release train is to deliver value and deliver value continuously. Um, and the ability of the value stream to deliver value depends upon the ability of the agile release trains or the solution trains. Um, so this is all about the four core values: built-in quality, alignment, transparency, and program execution. Now, moving on to the next topic for the day is the lean agile mindset. So what is lean agile mindset? It's a combination of the beliefs, assumptions, attitudes, which embrace the concept of the Agile Manifesto and the lean thinking. Um, SAFe is based on these four bodies of knowledge in particular: the lean, agile, system thinking, and DevOps. So that is where it comes from. The genesis of SAFe is to develop a guidance for the enterprise to show how to apply these principles and practice the lean and agile in the world's largest organizations. So yes, a Scrum team is good for a small product, but when it comes to a large organization, how do we go about having this lean agile mindset? So it's very important for the leaders to have the thorough understanding of the lean agile mindset to drive that organization change. So once again, the emphasis is on the leaders to unlearn the old ways of working and acquire this lean agile mindset. And it's the cornerstone for any new of the management approach. The lean agile mindset is very important uh, to enhance or change the company's culture to achieve that business agility. Now, just let's quickly take a step back and see what do we mean, what do we understand, what is a mindset? A mindset is just is just a mental view or a mental lens through which how we see the world around us. So it's how the human brain categorizes, simplifies, and interprets the information that we receive on a day-to-day basis. And this is achieved by some structured learning, like classes, reading, and all, and by some unstructured lessons, by the experience, by some events, or some good and bad experiences that each one of us have. We form our mindsets, and this is in our subconscious mind, and it manifests as the beliefs and the attitudes and the assumptions. And unfortunately, individuals are often not aware of how their mindset influence how they carry out their responsibilities and interact with others. based on my experience, based on my background, based on my interactions that I have, my the history or the past experience that I have, my future interactions are also driven by that. That's what is the mindset. It's so we'll have to move away from the fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So the growth mindset is all, if I can put it, this is pretty much on the pessimistic or on a negative side, while this is all on the positive side. So wherein, for example, I don't like to be challenged. It's a fixed mindset. While in a growth mindset, I like to be challenged because it helps me to grow. So someone is challenging my idea, it makes me think, it helps me to grow. So, and a fixed mindset says that, okay, whatever I say, I stick to what I know. While in a growth mindset, feedback is always constructive. Feedback is always welcome. So this is a change that we need to have from a fixed mindset to the growth mindset. Moving on to the next topic of the day, which is House of Lean. So this is the House of Lean. As you can see, at the top, we have the goal. We have these 4 pillars: respect for people, culture, flow, innovation, and relentless improvement. And at the foundation, we have the lean and agile leadership. Let's see each one of them one by one. The goal of lean is very straightforward: maximize maximum customer value in the shortest sustainable lead time is is the goal of lean. And what does it uh, uh, mean, or what does it bring about? It brings about more, a high morale, customer delight, and safety. So these are the additional benefits that we get by having the first one, the maximizing the customer value with the sustainable, shortest sustainable lead time. Now let's look at the 4 pillars. The first one is the respect for people and culture. So this is very straightforward. It's we each of us like to be respected. That's a fundamental basic human need. And when people are treated with respect, so it is not about uh, like in our Indian languages. Uh, when we talk to the elders, we talk with a different uh, uh, um, this one grammar, and when we talk to, it's not about that. It's about respecting each other's ideas and empowering each other's all of the individuals. I respect your idea and you respect my idea, and both of us have got their merits and demerits. Then that is what is the respect that we are talking about. And the management challenges people to change and look out for better ways of working. However, it is the teams and the individuals who learn problem solving, reflection skills, and are accountable for making appropriate improvements. So the accountability is rests with the teams as well. So they are accountable for making the appropriate improvements. It is not that they can just shy away from that responsibility. And the driving force behind this new behavior is a generative culture. So which is characterized by a positive, safe, performance-centric environment. This is very important. Having a safe, performance-centric important environment is very important. I should feel safe. I should feel safe to experiment. I should feel safe to fail. So that is very important. And to achieve this, the leaders need to change first. It all starts from the leaders. First, understand and implement the safe values and principles and deliver winning results. The culture change will automatically happen. So we can't change the culture overnight because we have been doing certain things in a certain way for a long period of time. So let us first implement the values, the safe values and principles. Let us deliver winning results. The cultural change will automatically happen. It is not just a magic wand that I can wave and the culture change will happen. It won't. It is a very methodical step-by-step approach. So it starts with the values and principles of safe and achieve results. Automatically, the culture will change. The next pillar is about flow. So the key successful executing of safe is to establish a continuous flow, which is all about incremental value. And once again, it is based on constant feedback and adjustment. So based on the feedback that I get, we accommodate and we adjust based on the market needs. Now, what does continuous flow bring in? The continuous flow brings in faster sustainable value delivery, and it provides an evidence-based governance. So based on the feedback that we get, based on the evidences that we get from the feedback, so we incorporate those changes. And it involves understanding the entire value stream, and understanding the importance of limiting work in progress. So when we have read smaller batch size and we manage the queue length, the flow automatically happens. So to achieve flow, it is very important to limit WIP, have smaller batch sizes, and manage your queue length. Additionally, in Lean, there's a strong emphasis on identifying and removing waste on a continual basis. Waste is any of the non-value added activities is termed as waste. And the focus is not on start, stop, start project. So it's not on so rather than a project-based approach, to achieve flow, it's on a long-lived value stream. So having a long-lived value stream enables a flow in place rather than having a project-based approach. And yeah, moving away from a phase-based approach to a DevOps approach, wherein a continuous delivery pipeline is in place to achieve the flow. Moving on to the next pillar, which is innovation. The third pillar of the House of Lean is innovation. So here, the Lean Agile leaders practice, and they believe in mentoring innovation and entrepreneurial entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial attitude in the organization workforce. So you would have heard big enterprises and leaders talk about startup culture. So that is what is this. So encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship within an organization. And they believe in go and see. So it's very simple. Go to the actual place of work and where the value is produced, and understand. So the other term is it's also known as Gemba walk, having Gemba walk. And this is one greatest sin. 100% utilization is a great sin. So you can't have 100% utilization and at the same time expect innovation to happen. It doesn't work that way. So being involved in day-to-day firefighting and having innovation um, also to take place, it doesn't work. So that's why in SAFe, the IP sprint, so the last iteration of any program increment, we known as innovation and planning sprint. So there's a dedicated opportunity for us to innovate, and there's a constant focus on innovation. And there's always a continuous exploration. So the process of exploring the market need and the feedback is fed back into redefining the vision, the roadmap, and the features. So there's always a focus on continuous exploration. And yes, certain things, certain innovative ideas work, certain ideas don't work. So you just because it is my pet project, there's no point in hanging on to it. So I pivot without mercy or guilt. So if my hypothesis fails, then I pivot. So I pull out. So that is what this is talking about. And it's always you need to have a innovation reptide. So you need to have that culture of innovation that provides a tidal wave of new products, services, and capabilities to start flowing into the system. Now the last pillar is about relentless improvement. This is one key aspect. So we are all good at optimizing at our local level. So I don't know what happens in my upstream. I don't know what happens in my downstream. I do what I'm good at, and I understand only this. That doesn't work that way. So optimizing the whole, not the parts, should be the culture of the organization. And once again, a problem solving mindset throughout an organization should be encouraged, wherein all are empowered to engage in daily improvements to the work, however small it may be. So all are highly encouraged. And most of you would have read or heard about how Toyota works. So every individual, however small uh, uh, improvement that he has, he or she contributes. That's why Toyota is what Toyota is. And we reflect on key milestones and openly identify and address our shortcomings on a periodic basis at all levels. And apply the lean based tools and techniques. We do fact based root cause analysis of all the inefficiencies, and apply the countermeasures swiftly and rapidly. Now, in the house of lean, the foundation is leadership. Now let's quickly see what do we have over here. Leaders are ultimately responsible for success of any adoption. So this just cannot be delegated. So when I say delegated, it can be delegated to the direct reportees or the PMO or the working groups. So or any process teams or external consultants, or you hire a coach or a consultant, and no, it doesn't work that way. The leaders are ultimately responsible for the success of adoption. And for that, the leaders need to be trained on the new and innovative ways of working and thinking, which exhibits the lean agile leadership. And so let's quickly see what does agile and lean say about leadership. So in agile, it's all about a team-based approach. So it's all about self-managed team and within a short period and short bursts. And agile talks all about all of that. And agile is pretty silent and has left the management out of it. So the management is excluded in the agile uh, concept. So it doesn't work that way. If you keep the management out, you can't scale. That is where the lean comes into picture. In lean, the managers and the leaders are paramount. So they proactively eliminate impediments and take an active role in driving the organizational change. That's why in SAFE, we talk about lean agile mindset. So the management is also important, because when you are at a scale, the leaders and the management have to be thoroughly involved. This is what once again Deming says. It's not enough that the management commit themselves to quality and productivity. They must know what it takes and what they must do. Such responsibility cannot be delegated. So it's very straightforward. And he has told us ages ago, um, and it still holds good. Okay, so we'll have a quick activity time. Moving on to the last topic, we're at 10:30 now. Just because we started 10 minutes late, I think we can afford to go for 10 more minutes. So I would request. So what we all know the agile principles. So we all know these 12 principles. I'm not getting into the details of this. So what I would request the crowd to do is, and Niladri would, I would request you to help me with that survey. So I would request the crowd to get into that survey. Niladri? You have that link handy?
Unmute myself. Okay. All right. So, do we have any tools where we'll do the survey, or you can actually what everyone, if you are with your computer, you can actually use your annotation tool and put your dots so that we can see where exactly majority of people are putting their dots.
Yeah. Okay, perfectly fine. So what I would want you guys to do is, so you just have a, this is the first principle. Let's say our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So does this work as is in a scaled environment? Is this principle not applicable, or does this require any thinking at scale? So we would want you to vote on this. So you might want to put your dots over here. Is that what you're telling, Niladri?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So instead of drawing a line, you can put it work as is what you think for the number one or not applicable. So everyone, you can select your own color. I'll just quickly clear
Like
up
this,
all
is
these
it?
annotation. Yeah, exactly. So we
Okay.
can see how many dots are coming up, so we can get an holistic view about what exactly everyone is thinking about.
You can ignore the ones that I have put.
I can clear that off quickly.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Because I have
So
done on my PPT.
that's okay. So I'm still trying to find out my annotation tool. Where has that gone? Maybe annotation. Yeah, I found that. So I'll just clear your dot that I think.
Yeah, that's
I'll
okay.
just,
So
yeah.
so
All right.
we
Okay.
know, I know what is the dots that I have put. So all of you guys can please go in and put your dots.
So what exactly you need to do before you put into the dot, read the agile principle. What exactly the agile principle? These are not safe principles. These are agile principles. As you know, we have 12 principles, but we are talking about scaled agile framework. So scaled agile have little difference than your traditional agile way of working, where we scale up multiple teams, have our program layers, have our different other layers on top of that. So which principles you think from Agile Manifesto can directly go into as is to scale agile, what you think is not applicable to scale agile, and what you think that can be applicable but need a little of changes on that. So keeping that in mind, everyone, you can just put it there. So
For all
I'll
the
just
12.
yeah, for all
For
the
all the 12.
12, and I'll just put a timer so that we can close it in 3 minutes maybe. So let me just open up the timer. Or I think Mahindra, you are sharing, you can open the timer so that everyone can able to see that.
Oh, where's the timer?
Okay. All right. So there is a clock item on. That's a Windows default feature you have. So different application you can bring on top of that. But let me just start it
Okay,
quickly
that's
at
okay.
my end. Yeah.
Or I can put it on my cell. So not a big deal.
All right. So I'm sharing, not sharing. I'm just open it. It's 2 minutes 53 seconds is there. All right. I think people have started giving yes or no. And Nitesh said yes.
Niladri, how much time? How are we doing on the time?
Okay, let me quickly check. 37 seconds.
Okay.
All right, time up. So I think you can actually start explaining, Mahendra, about
Okay,
the
great.
feedback you have received.
Yeah, yeah. Every time we do this, every time we get a different perspective. That's excellent. And I see one star out there for the principle 9. It's and someone of us feel that it is not applicable. So that's quite interesting. So, and most of us feel that it can work as is or require some rethinking for various principles. So let's see what we got. So this is how it is. So there are certain principles, the ones that I've marked in blue. Niladri, if you or do you want to retain or clear it off? Is it?
Yeah, I can clear that up, but you can think about what actually it was and what's you have got the
So
feedback.
it's good, good, good. It shows a comparison. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there are certain principles which would none of them is not applicable. So fortunately, most of the Agile Manifesto's principles are applicable at scale as well. However, the four of these require some rethinking at scale. So let's see what does it. What do I mean by that? So yeah, Niladri, if you can clear it off, otherwise the
All
text
right.
is not
Yeah.
visible.
Let me just clear that up. Give me 1 second of time. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a principle two. So the principle two is about welcoming changing requirements. So th- why do we say it requires a bit of a rethinking? Because it's just a practical aspect of it. So it's just a practical recognition of the cost of change, uh, uh, and most of the situations that might not be feasible, and more so when at scale you have got software and hardware also. Changing software might be a lot easier, but if changes to hardware comes in, then it will have a challenge. The next is on the principle 5. What is principle 5? Principle 5 is business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. So there is a bit of a challenge over here. Once again, it's on the economical practicality of it. So to get everyone to work together on a daily basis. However, to compensate for that, there are certain roles and clear content authority and responsibility is defined at the product management and the system architect and the system engineer level. And we do engage the customer directly in terms of system and solution demo. So that's how in a scaled environment we ensure that there's a constant interaction between the business and the development community. The next is on the principle 7. I think most of you rightly told this is about the face-to-face communication. So the agile principle says the most and effective method of communication is face to face. Once again, how do we in a program which is around 150 member, 100 to 150 members? So it's bit once again a practical challenge to have face to face. So how do we overcome that? we do have periodic face-to-face PI planning. So that's why PI planning event is very sacrosanct, wherein everyone who are part of the PI is takes part, right from the business executives, the business owners, to the last member in the team, are all part of the PI planning. That is one event which enables face-to-face communication. And the last one is on the technical side. This is pretty interesting. The Agile Manifesto's principle says the architecture, requirements, and design emerge from self-organizing teams. While when we are at scale, so one of the scale principles, safe principles, which we'll subsequently see in the next sessions, is about decentralized decision making. So based on the economic rationale of the decision that is taken, it is encouraged to push it to the it is encouraged to decentralize, and something which is strategic is taken up centrally. Well, so this is what I had to cover. So these are the four principles that require some rethinking at scale. But other than that, the rest of the principles can be applied as is. Yes, we are at 10:43 now. So I'm at the I'm done. We can take any questions if they're there on the chat, or if anyone have got
Yeah, as
any
of now, we
questions,
have
you
not
can open.
received any questions from chat, but if anyone, you have some questions that you want to ask or some feedback you want to give, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, any feedback. So for people who have been with us in the last three sessions, if you got any feedback, most welcome. Would like to pick up feedback and improve.
Hi, this is Nitish here.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
just
Nitesh.
a couple of thoughts. Today, I think somehow it was technical glitch. Not sure was it only for me, but or for everyone. It's like if we can just ensure that 10 minutes before everybody is settled at the start of the discussion, so that way
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah, very,
can go.
very good feedback. And we also have observed that, but next time onwards, we'll try to have everyone joined at least on time. But even
Right.
people from Indian, they are people from different time zones also joining. So sometimes they get delayed or sometimes, so even at least we can open the bridge at least 10 minutes before, and we will give some kind of leverage to 5 minutes or 10 minutes so that everyone can join and settle down and we can begin.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Nitesh,
somehow,
very valid.
somehow
Very
I
valid
felt,
feedback.
yeah.
No, no, very valid feedback, because I myself was struggling to get into the Zoom meeting, to be honest. So
I was
I,
just about to drop a mail to Niladri whether is it something got with a different link. I joined 10 minutes before, so I was just
yeah,
Okay.
wondering.
No,
I
I
had
was
to.
actually in a different meeting. I am
I
actually
thought that
running.
I thought
So,
that, but
and
mhm.
that one, I wanted to stop that in a logical break because I am actually running a safe certification workshop. So
Okay,
I
okay.
wanted to take it to the logical break, and I think I stopped that at 9:27 sometime. And then I started, but I started a different link instead of this one. And I was waiting why no one is there. So I realized, okay, I opened a different link, and that's why what's happened. So next time onwards, what we'll be doing is we'll starting at least kind of a 10 minutes before in advance.
And second question on the top of this, the very initial we started with a safe webinar kickoff session on 18 December, right? So
Right.
that YouTube video is no more available,
No,
and
no,
then
it's available.
the next was on 9th January.
Is there on my
Have
channel,
you?
Nitish? So you just
So
go to
let
I
YouTube.
me share the screen as well.
because
S-
I just had that YouTube link which you had shared earlier on 18 December. Then I have this 9th January,
Okay, let
which
me
is
let me quickly share the screen,
or
and
maybe you can
where I
provide the
think you can
link.
go into Mahendra's YouTube channel or my YouTube channel, or even if you go into your let me just bring this up. So if you are already here, this is your webinar link where we just
I,
completed this
I think
episode 2,
You're
and
not
over
sharing? Are you sharing?
Yeah, I'm sharing.
No, you're sharing something different.
Okay, let me share the second screen once again. So it's coming up.
Can you just pass on that link on the chat so that at least that would be easier?
All right, so let me just pass this on. Let me first paste it here and see how exactly it's coming up. So over here, you will able to see what's our different agenda we have in our pipeline and what will be coming on next. And also all the previous recording. The registration link is off. It will be again on for the next presentation. This is our first video that we had on the first day. This is our second one that we had on this episode 1, and the episode 3 will be come up over here. So in the chat window, I'll just drop you the quick message
Sure.
to everyone. Where is my chat window gone? There are so many windows open. Chat.
This one I
uh,
think so that you can just see.
I'm still trying to find out my chat window. Let me find it out. Where my chat window gone? Okay,
Yeah.
I got it
Anyway,
now.
I've put my YouTube videos
Yeah.
chat.
So you
Just
got it from Mahendra's YouTube video as well, YouTube channel, and I am also sharing where you will able to see where exactly you will be able to log in, and you can able to look into all of them.
That helps because I was just wondering, is it something I had that one from the earlier discussions, and I was just wondering, was it moved or something like that?
All right.
And when is
and
the next session? Other today is 30th, so are we planning after
That will
30th,
be on 30th of Feb.
13th of Feb? Okay.
Yeah. And
we
we'll
try to maintain the 3 week.
No, no, that's okay. But just
Planning.
as a memory
Yeah, yeah,
recall,
30th. Yeah,
better to be
30th.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
all right. Is there anyone have any other questions that you wants to talk about?
No, I'm done.
Anyone else?
Would you share would you
Yeah.
share a mail with the links to all the participants so that we'll be able to go through it free? Though we
Yes,
have
I'll
attended it, but the
yeah. So
recordings
what
will be
I'll do
available.
is that video that the recordings that we are doing, it will take certain time to get it recorded. So by tomorrow, I'll reply all with the link where they can watch the recording and the registration as well.
Yeah, thank
And
Right.
Preeti, it would
And
be on my YouTube also, so you can go there
so
and
what
see as well.
I will
Whoever is
do,
coming later.
I'll also
Okay.
attach the Mahendra's YouTube channel as well with the mail, so that you will Mahendra's YouTube channel have many other videos, very important videos that we may not be covering in this webinar or that was recorded earlier. So you'll also get that opportunity to browse through all those videos as well.
Great, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about? Otherwise, we can wind up this call and we'll see you once again on 13th of Feb.
And thanks everyone. Thanks for being part of this. And every interaction is a learning opportunity for both of us. That is what keeps us going.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye.
so much,
Bye. Bye.
Niladishan and Mahendra sir, for this wonderful class. By the way, Aparimita, I love your YouTube channel. And to be honest, I have never got to Mahendra sir's videos, but to be, going forward, I will follow his videos too. Thanks so much, Aradhana, who just, pushed me in the last moment. I was struggling with
Okay.
time. No, you shouldn't attend. Thank you so much, both of you. You are doing great job.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Arpita.
Aparmita.
Aparmita. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone. Bye. Bye for now.
Bye.
Stay
Bye. Yeah.
safe. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Happy weekend.
Yep.